I'm just grateful you decided to do this inside.
Well, yeah.
Was that a consideration outside?
For
Well,
half a
there was
second?
more opportunities to have it outside, but I was like, can't do that in July.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. No, thank you. That means a lot to me. Let's go around and. Hi, Logan. How are you? What grade are you in? Sixth.
I'm Ashton, the other side.
What grade are you in? Not many people are qualified to wear the uniform of our nation, and to have your dad 20 years ago decide to serve something bigger than himself and come in the Air Force and have a really distinguished career throughout his 20 years is important, and he couldn't have done it without the great support from each of you. So thanks for being here today. Much about you all as it is about him. So congratulations to you as well. Thanks for letting your dad serve.
Thank you.
We didn't really have a choice. But
Somebody can say thanks.
You're welcome.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, but it's so you've been stationed at 5 different places, I think. If I recall.
Yep.
Have you all?
So Parker and Ashton, they were born in Seymour Johnson.
Seymour
my
Johnson
birthdays.
first. So you
And-
moved around.
Yeah, and then I was at Combat Camera at Charleston,
Yeah.
and that's where my girls were born.
In Charleston.
Where's that? Wait,
Yeah.
isn't there more people?
Just with your mom.
Like Gail is, I met
Oh, they're over
Gail.
there.
And then you have, yep. And where do you live?
I live in Arizona right
A little warm there, isn't it?
now. 115.
Yeah.
I left.
I was just in California and it was a little hot. I took the red eye last night to get back here. And somebody was telling me how hot it was. And I was there with somebody from Arizona and they said it's just been brutal.
Yeah.
But, and then we've got brothers and sisters, right? Who?
I'm a cousin.
Cousin?
First cousin.
First cousin. Nice to meet you. Where do you live?
Arizona.
Is everybody Arizona? Other than Arizona?
Yeah. This is my family, my husband and my sister.
I'm Rita. I'm
Rita?
his sister.
And where do you live?
Just south of Baltimore.
How are you, sir?
Hello, I'm Brad.
Nice to meet you.
And,
Thanks for being here.
Sir, he's retired Coast Guard.
Really? How many years did you serve?
Not that many, 5 or 6 medical.
Yeah. What did you do in the Coast Guard?
ET.
Thanks for your service. Retirement's great, isn't it? You're about to really, I can.
Devices for the duration of the ceremony. And please remove any IDs or security badges for this ceremony, as there will be professional photography. Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to today's retirement ceremony honoring Staff Sergeant Chad Trujillo. I am Sergeant First Class Retired Davis, and I'll be your Master of Ceremony for today's retirement. A retirement ceremony represents the culmination of a distinguished career in service to the United States and is one of the oldest traditions of military service. It pays tribute to the sacrifices and professional excellence that have traditionally been keys to the greatness and, at times, the survival of America. Your presence today not only manifests your appreciation for Sergeant Trujillo's past dedication to duty, but also reflects your sincere wishes for a gratifying and rewarding future for him and his family. Please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of the national anthem and the invocation.
afternoon. This is quite a milestone day for Chad and his family. We're grateful to all who have made this day of celebration possible, and thank you all for joining us. Please stand with me. Girl, stand. Never mind. Okay. Pray with me. Father God, thank you for your presence here today as we pause to recognize Staff Sergeant Chad Trujillo's 20 years of military service. Your love for us goes beyond our comprehension, and I believe you rejoice with us on this day. Thank you for all the military men and women of this country who, along with their families, have served and have sacrificed to protect us and to keep our freedoms. We are grateful for their service. We ask you to protect them and as they carry out their duties, and please provide for the needs of their families. Thank you for all the friends and family who have contributed to Chad's journey, many of whom are here today. Bless them, Father. For no man is an island, and we each progress and succeed by the help of those you have brought across our paths who walk with us in this life. We acknowledge you as a source of our strength and abilities, and we thank you for the opportunities you have provided for Chad to complete this time of service to our country. We would ask for your continued provision for him and his family as they move into the next season of their life together. We now commit this ceremony and this day of celebration to you. We welcome you as our source of joy, and we thank you for the day to celebrate. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the official party. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is General Retired John J. Raymond. The honoree of today's ceremony, Staff Sergeant Chad Trujillo, joined by his son Parker, son Ashton, daughter Eva, daughter Gwen, mother Gail, brother Silas, sister Rita, and her husband Aaron, brother Ryan, sister Cammie, and her husband Dan, with their two children, Izzy and Rowan, his sister Mila, his uncle Juan and his daughter Olivia, cousin Bevan and her husband Donnie, and their son Logan. Round of applause for the family, you got it. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. General Raymond will now present Sergeant Trujillo with the Air Force Commendation Medal. Attention orders. The Department of the Air Force awards Staff Sergeant Chad B. Trujillo the Air and Space Commendation Medal, 1st Oak Leaf Cluster. During this period, Sergeant Trujillo worked as the photography laboratory's only uniformed member, supporting over 5,800 studio portraits. Additionally, he pursued advanced photography training by competing in the DC Shoot-Off, winning the 2nd place award. Moreover, Sergeant Trujillo supported Air Force Television by contributing to over 20 studio video productions. Outside of the studio, he showcased his photography expertise by documenting more than 2,200 events, supporting both the Department of Defense and the Department of the Air Force. Furthermore, Sergeant Trujillo was lauded by the Secretary of the Air Force for his capture of the Chapman Family Medal of Honor ceremony that reached 2.6 million people, and he was hand-selected to document the 19th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force and the 22nd Chief of Staff of the Air Force transition ceremony, which showcased the first female Chief Master Sergeant and first African-American Chief of Staff of the Air Force. Finally, Sergeant Trujillo doggedly worked to declassify 4 strike videos that empowered deployed decisions makers with important information on ongoing operations. The distinctive accomplishment of Sergeant Trujillo culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Signed, Jerry Renee, SES DAF, Director of Air Force Public Affairs. Participant at this time, General Raymond will now make his remarks.
Let's stand at the podium so folks can hear online that are linked in virtually. First of all, Chad, let me just say thank you for the distinct honor of being able to officiate your retirement ceremony. Some of you who may not know me are probably wondering, what the heck is this guy doing up here in a suit? Well, I can tell you retirement's really good. And I just went through this myself a handful of months ago. It's great to be back here amongst the thing that I miss most about service, and that's being around people that you have a lot of respect for, that have all raised their right hand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, protect our nation, and be able to be here with you to help you celebrate a very distinctive career. I appreciate it very much. Retirements are all about family and friends, and it's cool that so many of your family and friends are here. He could not have done this service without you. And so for your kids, we all had an opportunity to meet and broke down service. Thank you. My daughter, when I was stationed in Japan, my daughter was a freshman in high school, and she had to write a one-line poem in school. And the poem that she wrote was, "My dad serves and I follow." And that kind of hit me hard. I get emotional when I talk about it. But you do more than follow. You served as well. And a lot of sacrifices for having your dad in the military. You've missed, I'm sure, a lot of events. I can tell you now, you haven't, and he hopefully won't. I will be there a lot more than what he's been able to do, because we've had a lot of demands on your dad. So thank you for what you have done to help enable his service, and for all the family that are here. I know it means a lot to Chad that you're here. Chad, we were talking earlier, he grew up kind of all over, hasn't lived in a place, I guess, until now, more than 3 years in a row. Had traveled around, but enlisted in the United States Air Force when he was in Arizona, and had a buddy that said, "Hey, let's go enlist." Went to the recruiter, and then his buddy bailed, and he went. His buddy's not here today, I'm sure. But I think we're. Thanks for being a wingman. But we're glad you came in. And after going through basic training, was assigned to be a photographer. And if you look at Chad's career, it's pretty cool that he is a photographer. For 20 years, he's been a photographer. He is an expert in this craft. You just have to look at some of his pictures to know that he is really, really good. Started out his career at Seymour Johnson as a basic photographer. And did a lot of events around the base that typically happen on a base to help document what's going on in a really critical time. But then if you look at every one of his jobs, he's gone up in responsibility. And so then he transitioned to Charleston, where he became a combat photographer, combat camera. And that's where we send our best photographers. And so obviously he made a great mark in his first assignment, and then did combat photography at Charleston for a couple of years. And then from there moved on to Fort Meade. And I think this is another thing that really stuck out when I looked through your record. At Fort Meade, he was an instructor. So not only was he a photographer, and not only was he a photographer trained in documenting combat situations in deployed environments, he then went on to teach others. And that's where we send our really best folks, because if you're going to teach somebody, you gotta know what you're doing. And did that at Fort Meade for a significant portion of time before going off to Minot. And for those that have been to North Dakota before, like I have, it's a little chilly, to say the least. It's the northern tier. It's a hardy group of folks. It takes somebody with great character and discipline to work in those environments, and to document At that time, I think you're part of the bomb wing or the missile. Good bomb wings. Yeah, and so that wing at Minot has both a bomb wing and a missile wing, so are critical nuclear capabilities for deterring, for deterrence for our nation. And Chad was able to document that. But if you look at his duty title there, he wasn't just a photographer, he was the NCOIC in a leadership position. And so now he's supervising. So photographer, combat photographer, instructor, there's a theme here, and now supervisor. And had become an NCO, gone to Airman Leadership School, went to NCO Academy, and trusted in leading our nation's finest that have all volunteered to join their or to serve their country. And then from there, where I got to meet Chad was, and I'll tell you, it's been an incredible 3 years. You've been here for how many years? So 5, 6. I came here a little over 3 years ago. And kind of from day one, we were in the ceremony business, either the establishment ceremony, the signing of document ceremonies, the bringing everybody into the service. Every single person that came in had to volunteer to come in and had to take an oath of office. We did individual ceremonies in our office that you helped document. We did, I guess the other extreme was in his office, but the office was on the International Space Station. We swore in somebody that was an astronaut that was orbiting overhead. It's a really important time. If you think back, think through the Air Force history and look at you walk around the Pentagon and you see the art that's on the wall about the early days of the Air Force. The pictures that you took and that you documented in the early days of the Space Force was really documenting history. And those photographs are going to be looked at for years and years and years for the history of the Space Force. And you have helped build that history for our service, and I can't thank you enough for doing that. He's an airman, not a guardian. Guardians, we don't have photographers in the Space Force. If I did, this guy would be the first guy I'd grab over. He almost seemed like you were a guardian because you were there all the time. But we use Air Force photographers to help us, and I'm really glad that you were in the job that you were doing and helped us document it and get this right. Sometimes, when we're home, I look through pictures and just kind of reminisce on the last 3 years as I've been kind of coming down out of the job. And not only have you documented history for the service or for our nation, but you also helped document it for my family. And we really appreciate you very much. Molly would love to have been here. Unfortunately, a friend of hers passed away. She's at a funeral, but she wanted me to pass along her thanks as well to you. You heard in the medal, not only did he support the Space Force, obviously he's an airman, he worked in the studio downstairs. And every senior officer or NCO in the Air Force and Space Force got to interact with Chad. It's at the very highest level of our department where you operate. You heard about documenting the Chief Master Sergeant and the Chief of Staff of the Air Force's transition ceremony. Those are big historic events as well. So across your time here, working for the Secretary of the Air Force and the Secretary of Public Affairs branch or office, you have made your mark, and it's a mark that's pretty cool because it's all documented history because of what you did. Now, I always say when you go to a retirement ceremony, like you're retiring an enlisted aide, you have the best food, because they're all cooked. So if you go and you're retiring somebody in the communication business, you got the best sound system. Well, here we got the best photographers capturing this. So you can have a little documentation of your history. And it's a history that you should be very proud of. 20 years of service is no small feat. There's a lot of challenges that go on with that. But I will tell you, you can look back and say, I served my nation proudly. I did my job, I documented history. And now, trust me, there are great things ahead. And for those in the active duty military, don't hurry, but I highly recommend retirement when it comes to your time. We're excited for you in the future. And again, my sincere thanks for allowing me to play up a small part in this. Thank you.
We will now present the Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States. The certificate reads, Staff Sergeant Chad B. Trillo I extend my personal gratitude and sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you for your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embody the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, Joseph R. Biden Jr., Commander-in-Chief. Sergeant Trujillo will now be presented the certificate of appreciation from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. The certificate reads, I am proud to join your friends and family in congratulating you on your retirement from the United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Chad B. Trujillo, the achievements and contributions you have made throughout your career are indicative of the core values of our great service. Your retirement is well-deserved, but your selfless contributions will be sorely missed. On behalf of all American Airmen, thank you for your faithful and devoted service to our nation. As this chapter in your life closes and a new one begins, I hope the years ahead are filled with more great memories and continued success. Signed, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Joanne S. Bass. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the retirement order presented by General Ramsey. From the Armed Forces of the United States of America to all who shall see the presents greeting. This is to certify that Staff Sergeant Chad B. Trujillo, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of November 2023. Signed, Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General C.Q. Brown, Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Every retiree received a retirement pin as a symbol of their active duty service. Ms. Gail, can you come up, please? Your son's lapel to symbolize his tradition from active duty retired service. His pin stands as a testament of Sergeant Trujillo's service to our great nation. To all who see it, know that he has met all challenges set before him and has served our country with pride, honor, and dignity.
Make it stick, Mom.
At this time, Sergeant Trujillo will now like to recognize his children with military child letters of appreciation. Parker, Ashton, Evangeline, and Quinn, please come up and accept your certificates. That you made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for your support, which gave strength and purpose to your father's service. You may be seated as well. Sergeant Trujillo would now like to present his Joint Service Commendation Medal to his uncle in honor of his late father, Vincent. Sir Juan, please come up.
So most of you all know my father passed away a couple of years ago, which is very sad. He was taken far too young, but unfortunately that's kind of how this world works sometimes. He did make a huge impact on a lot of people in this room, as well as me. I couldn't have asked for a better dad, better father, grandfather. He was an amazing man, and unfortunately, that's how this works. So, in honor of my late father, I earned this in my deployment, and on behalf of me and my father, I would like you to have this.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you for the first time, Staff Sergeant Retired Chad Trujillo.
Well. You know, everybody says you never know if it's never going to make it or not. You know, so you never know how long you're going to be in.
Cheese.
All right, got that out. So yeah, being in the service is hard. If anybody says it's easy, they're wrong. And much like being in the service is hard, you coin that phrase, space is hard, sir. And so just like many things are hard, it's also, I want to talk about my favorite superhero. It's Batman. Because Batman, he's got a hard job. And in my opinion, there's a few things that Batman and photojournalists have in common. For one, we have to put on a costume to do our job. People don't like a camera in your face, just like you don't like Batman in your face. If we do our job really well and we do it properly, everybody will be happy to see it. And you were there. Much like being in the Air Force. And much like Batman and the great Michael Scott, would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. When I started this journey 20 years ago, I joined the Air Force because I needed a job. I was not making much money. I was just kind of a nomad. Had really no direction. Did go to school, but it was one of those things where like I ran out of money. And I was just going to school just because society told me I had to do it. So at that point, they go, you need to come up with a paycheck or some financial aid. And I said, well, I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up, so I'm not going to pay for a degree and just not end up using it. So at that point, I kind of roamed around for about a year. During that time, I met my buddy Silas. And we hung out for a while, and we were just kind of, not doing anything. He was trying to actively join the Air Force. And so one day, he goes, hey man, before we go to see the movie, can we stop up with the recruiters? I need to ask him some questions. All right, cool, no problem. So I'm sitting in the reception room. He went back in the recruiter's office. Both he and him came out, and they got done talking, and then they sat down. And the recruiter goes, so what are you doing with your life? Salesman. And so we got talking a little bit. He showed me a brochure, and I'm like, these are the dorms? These are really nice. That sort of thing. Yep, Air Force dorms. See, jealous. You can just smell it. Yeah, so I was like, that's not so bad. And then they give you a paycheck, and they pay you to go to school and all this stuff. And I thought, well, at least I can get my college paid for, that sort of thing. And so he's like, what would it take for you to take practice ASVAB? So that's what I did. And turns out I did pretty good. And he's like, well, what would it take for us to do this for real? And did some research, things like that, and obviously I raised my hand, went into delayed entry program. And then I met really cool people like Sergeant Westerbarth over there. We went to basic training together. Good times. Like everything else, you hate life for 6 weeks. But during that 6 weeks, it gives you that foundation. And now, 20 years later, I'm here. It's the sort of thing where very few people join the military club, but you've learned to love to hate it sometimes, and then goes full circle that you've learned that you did love it at the end. Ask anybody who has served, and especially served honorably. So I would be remiss if I didn't thank everybody, absolutely everybody who's in this room right now. And especially everybody who couldn't be in the room right now. Thank you for watching virtually. I know some of you couldn't make it out for various reasons, and I completely understand that. Life happens. We're all busy, but thank you for attending virtually, and you guys are awesome. Thank you. I don't want to take up too much time thanking everybody individually. You know who all you are, and you know you're awesome. I'm sure I'll get to talk one-on-one, and I can thank you personally that way. Let's see. Oh, yeah. The biggest one, I want to give a shout out to my mom. She's been one of my biggest heroes. She's always supported everything I've done. It's one of those, do your parents support you going to the military? Yes. Yeah, they absolutely supported me every step of the way. So thank you, Mom. You've been awesome. And thank you, Dad, because he was the same way. He supported in everything I absolutely did. And then thank you, kids, for always being, I know you didn't have a choice. Sometimes we don't get along. I get it. But, it's one of those things, at the end of the day, you have really good attitudes, and you're really well-behaved children, and I'm lucky to have the children that I have, because you're smart, and everybody tells me that you're well-behaved, and they love talking to you guys, which is awesome. So the great Phyllis Diller said, I want my children to have all the things I couldn't afford. Then I want them to move in. Then I want to move in with them. So yes, thank you everybody. Come here, sir. It was a real pleasure to be the fly on the wall, especially for all those really history-making moments. Everything from like when it was signed in to like the first birthday cake celebration to the astronaut handing you the flag. That was really cool. They flew a flag in space, brought it back, and presented it. It's on the fourth floor if you wanted to see it. The signing of the Space Force song. The list is just endless of all like history-making moments that I'm very fortunate to be here. And as well as like a lot of Air Force moments, the Medal of Honor moment. We hadn't had one of those in a long time, thankfully. But that just doesn't happen every day. And I was fortunate enough to be here for that. It's awesome. I really do have the best job in the world. Because I get to see everybody else's job, and I can see which ones I don't ever want to cross-train into. I've gotten to travel a lot with this job, and for that fact, same thing. And now I know which spaces I don't ever want to move to. I'll just visit. But yes, I am very, very fortunate to have a job that I have. I love my job. I would have never given it up for a million years. If I had to do it over again, photography all the way. All the way. I get to make special moments for everybody, not just me. I get to give them a special gift that not everybody can do their job. So it's awesome. And with that, this brings us to the end of today's briefing. Before I go, in the words of Truman Burbank, in case I don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Awesome. Son Trujillo hired. I would like to thank you for allowing me to wear your Air Force blue today. I am still Army strong forever. But truly, I am proud of you for the father that you are, the colleague that you have been, and also the friend that you are now. On behalf of myself and Master Sergeant Retired Lawrence, who you shot our ceremony just a few months ago, we have those memories that you just spoke about, and we truly appreciate you for that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you are already risen, but we will now play the U.S. Air Force song.
This one.
Gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please join us for a reception in honor of Staff Sergeant Retired Trujillo and his family. We thank you for joining us and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Steve Lyons.
I'd like to ask the family to come to the front to the receiving line, please.
Yes.
Start. I appreciate it. Been great. I've been great. What, you can check into FTE. Is that okay? Where you get your reservation. You all right? So, yeah.
Did your spouse came on the delegation, right?
Yes,
Or
yes.
she's here?
She's here.
Oh, okay, good.
Everybody here, both she was here with me the first time.
Good.
Family organizer. Her, and my daughter, she's almost 18, she's gonna be 18 next
So
week.
what is she gonna do?
Flying back to Romania, after that flying to Madrid. She's been accepted as a student.
It's an American university in Madrid.
Yes. Flight combination.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Beautiful location, good education. That's great. Senior bowl.
Including myself. No, she's been doing this for
I think they're chatting.
Definitely had a good
Oh, shoot.
Whoa. Oh, somebody's behind the TV. Tristan. What's up, Tristan? What's up? Tony, Mike. I don't know which Mike it is.
It is so cool.
You see next? I'm a grown up. I'm. Boy child. Boy child. Front and center.
Let's go party.
You going to announce the tour guide shortly, Chad? I'm going to take a picture with you, Chad, real quick. I'm going to get up out of here.
Let me go. Leave! Mike, you're the only person left. Don't leave! Don't leave! Don't leave! Don't leave! Don't leave! Don't leave!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you all are going to go on the tour guides are going to start in the next 5 minutes. So if you go ahead and gather your things,
Don't leave, Mike. Don't leave.
Who's Mike?
Mike's the only
Mike, do not leave. Do not leave.